It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. As I've been continuously bringing you amazing leaders that we're talking to, having fabulous conversations with, I am bringing you somebody from South Florida today, from Miami. Shirley Lopez is currently the CEO of LL Process. Shirley likes to say, I'm an entrepreneur that just so happens to be a process server, which I absolutely love. Shirley has been in this role since 2014, branding, strategizing, and managing nationwide service of process to new levels. Shirley also specializes in the hard-to-serve cases where the person is hard to find, high-profile cases, or very specific circumstances where there is only a minute opportunity to serve someone at a specific time and place. Shirley has also launched notarized virtual notarizations at LL Process. More importantly, I have to tell you, Shirley is involved in so many things. I want to stop talking about her. And Shirley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ivy. I'm happy to be here.
So what led you to get into process serving? Like, this is not many women that I've ever spoken to and said, I own a process serving business.
Yeah, it's a very rare occupation, to be honest. And I came across it because it's a family-owned business, and I married into it, basically. My husband, he actually acquired the business in 2009, 2010 from his stepfather, who was a longtime process server in Miami Dade, old school. Would go to his clients and pick up actual printed papers and then go out and serve them and then fax them an affidavit. That's how he worked. He didn't have a logo or anything. He was just him, himself, and I, my husband started to train under his stepfather and eventually took over the business when he passed away. And he was a great process server. I mean, attorneys loved Alex, loved him because he really had, these street smarts. But it's a tough business. It's very stressful. You're driving around all day long and people are, yelling in your face and slamming doors, right? And so one day I knew I wanted to be a business owner. I knew I wanted to do something. I just didn't know what. And every idea I came up with were always like billion-dollar ideas. Like, how am I going to do that? Right. So I saw how hard he was working, and he didn't even have a logo, and he was doing great. And I said to him, why don't you just let me take over? Let me quit my job. I was working in marketing. Let me just take over. I'll brand it. We'll have a website. We'll actually go out there and talk to people. Imagine what we could do. We did that, right?
Imagine what you could do when you actually move, kind of that mom and pop feeling to a business model.
Yes, exactly. And so I was like, as soon as I kind of analyzed the numbers, I was like, oh, whoa, wait a second. This is how much money we're making? Okay, no. Let's actually brand this and put a plan together. And so we did that. I took over in 2014. I eventually also became a process server licensed because, as I'm building my team of process servers, a lot of them were men. And, people recognize them as process servers and wouldn't open the door for them. And so every once in a while, I was like, man, I wish I could go in there and knock on that door myself. And eventually I ended up doing that, getting my license and I'm now the one that specializes in really tough serves. And that's how I've built the business, networking and saying that.
So as you came on and started shifting it to run as more of a business, what are some of the things you've seen shift? Is it how do you, I have so many questions. How do you market? What are you seeing? How have you seen the business growth or is there growth from shifting it? What has you've built team? I have so much. So let's start
So
from your expertise. You came in with a marketing background.
yes, I
What
came in
did
with
you
a
start
marketing.
shifting as far as marketing and business development?
Well, that was it. It was the branding was the biggest thing in the website, and then just kind of trying to automate, build, our email signature, like simple things like that. And then signing up to organizations and starting to network. And little by little, I started to realize this is not that hard to talk to people and to get my name out there. And if I am doing that, then people are needing my services. um, will work with me. How easy is that? So I started doing that and obviously started getting busy and started realizing, wait a second, I can't do it all. Even though I am a workaholic, if I was up 24 hours a day, probably I could do it all, but I need to survive.
You can scale that way.
You can. But I, had to realize in 2018, I did not sleep in 2018. And in 2019, I was like, no, this cannot go on for too long. So things need to change. And that's when I started seeking help from other entrepreneurs and peers and saying, what do I do? And I actually hired a business coach in 2020. That was really when things changed. Um, so the first thing that she said was, pull out a post-it note and write these words. I am the CEO. And I had it there on my screen, reminding me every single day. And that was just a reminder of delegation, building great processes and systems, and creating efficiencies in your business. And that was the mindset that year in 2020.
And that's important. That piece is important, brilliant. You must start moving from the doer to the leader.
Exactly.
And that's that shift, moving from doer to leader.
That was a shift. It was huge because it gave me a lot of time, extra time that I was now wondering, what am I going to do with that extra time?
So
You
what
know,
did you do with that extra time?
I looked for new opportunities. That's really what happened. Actually, opportunities fell in my lap, and I was kind of like, oh, I have time for this. So now that
Okay,
I've,
tell me, I have to say, tell me more. So,
yes.
as CEO of LL Process, um,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, I don't know, CEO of a growing company, mom of two kids. I have a ton of time. Let's start building other businesses.
Yeah, it didn't happen that way. It was like, um, it just happened that 2020, I became a virtual notary right when the pandemic hit. It was, perfect timing. And, I didn't stop networking. I was still doing Zoom meetings with everybody and networking. And I started telling everybody I was a virtual notary. And I thought it was a cool marketing tool to tell
Right.
everybody that. Like
So did you do it as a marketing
I did.
opportunity?
I did do it as a marketing opportunity just to tell people I did not think people will want virtual notarizations and I didn't think it would blow up. I didn't think it was going to be a big thing because notary in my mind, I notarize affidavits all the time for process servers. It was just part of my business, just like attorneys, they have a notary in their office. They don't
Right.
offer notary services though, right? So that's how I looked at notarizations. And every once in a while I was like, oh, I'll do a virtual notarization, no big deal. But then because of the pandemic, it really fueled the need for virtual notarizations. And I was fulfilling it and I was getting really busy from it to the point where it's driving me a little insane. And I needed to find other virtual notaries that I could pass business to and we can work together. And funny enough, in my BNI chapter, if you know BNI, you don't really like it when your competition visits the chapter, right? So we had a notary visit the chapter. And of course, I was like, wait a second, you guys don't know that I do notarizations? What's going on here? And, I'm in the process server seat. So technically, I got to let a notary in. And it was a good thing because we ended up becoming friends. I ended up teaching her everything about virtual notarization. She ended up teaching me everything about real estate documents. And we worked so well together that we were passing so much business between one another throughout that next year that we were kind of like, this is silly. Let's partner. Let's build a business together. And that's where Notary Force came from.
I have to say, it's so often, and I so appreciate you bringing this up. It's so often people see competition and it sets them, like, it gets their back up, so to speak. It's like, oh, there's so many, coaches and consultants in this group. There's so many of this, there's some, right?
You're right.
As opposed to shifting to seeing where collaboration and opportunity is. And so often I have met the greatest, just like your story, I have met the greatest people I collaborate with based
That are
on
probably your competition.
that are my competition. And there's sometimes we collaborate and we do clients together and we pull people in, or sometimes we'll hop on the phone and we'll help each other land clients because we see things from different perspectives. And it's it's very nice. It's like, okay, I'll buy you dinner next time we're in the same city at the same time. It's and it's done with a very generous heart because there is enough business for all. And as we collaborate, we truly are expanding. Without collaboration, we are limiting ourselves to only our own point of view. Okay? And if we're staying in only what we know and what we see, then we are truly, exactly, we're going down this narrow tunnel. Yet the landscape is beautiful where we are, and we're missing all of it. And we're missing everything that's going on around us and all these other paths we can go down. And you saw other business opportunities, and you continue to see you're starting up a new business because you have so much time.
It's funny that I say I have so much time when I really don't.
I know.
But yeah, there was another opportunity that popped up during that time. And that was a completely different opportunity. See, this one, Notary Force seemed just right because I was already talking to attorneys. So all my clients are attorneys. So now Notary Force is a natural, sister company to L&amp process. But during that time, my brother, who is 12 years younger than me, and I've always instilled in his head since he was very little, if he has an idea, a business idea, he comes to me first. And he did that. And he did that. And I'm glad that, that advice for many years kind of fell through to him. And he came to me with this idea of this NFT that was sold in Denver, Colorado, by the Denver Brewing Company, Denver Brewing Co. I think that's what they're called. Sold a $10,000 NFT called the Beer for Life NFT. And when he told me this, he's like, look at this article. So it's basically this man walks in and this bar and gets beer for the rest of his life.
Okay.
That's what the Beer for Life NFT is.
Got it.
So think about it. Pretty cool, right? If you're a 20-year-old, right?
Yeah,
what if you're an 80-year-old,
wild.
right? It's still cool. But so, this concept, I was like, cool, I don't understand this, but yeah, I can kind of see this as the future. So tell me more about it. How does this work? And so the problem, whenever you start a new idea, you have to figure out what the problem is, right? So I'm like,
touche. So I want to hold on. I want to reiterate this.
yeah.
Whenever you're figuring out a new business, what you're doing is you're identifying what is the problem out in the world and how does this business solve the problem. And if it's not really solving the problem, you question how much of a real business or traction you can get. If you look out into various parts of the world and say, wow, this is a consistent problem. This problem has been trying to be solved for a long time. This is a new problem that developed because of this, and this is going to escalate. We can have a business that fixes the problem. We have a potential business model.
Exactly. And once you come up with that, it'll eventually evolve to your very niche idea, So our idea started off as, this NFT membership thing, to now loyalty program and building. It's really now focused on, we were this little thing that gets you something, right? This membership thing that gets you something.
Right.
But the problem was we had no way of verifying or keeping track of that NFT. It's new technology. And how does a business keep track of it? Because that was the problem with this guy coming in. Like, how many beers does he get? How often, what if he sells this NFT to somebody else? How do you verify? How do you verify his ID? What if it's fake? Like, so many questions. And we did
And those are
figure that out.
really valid and great questions.
Yes, really valid and great questions, which is we were solving the technology issue, right? But we weren't really solving the issue at hand, which was customer retention. That was the real problem. Like, you're here thinking, oh, memberships, technology. No, no, no. The real problem is, how do you enhance customer retention? How do you invest in your customers and gain an ROI on it? How do you just build your business on current clients versus always seeking out the new ones and not retaining your new clients, right? That was the problem. And that's the problem that we're solving with loyalty and membership platform. Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Metadigm.
I'm really interested to stay in this conversation with you and see what develops here. So I have to ask you this.
Yeah.
I have a couple more things. What has surprised you in your journey in entrepreneurship?
Wow, that is a really good question. I think I've just surprised myself. You know, I when I did my MBA, I was always thinking of like these elaborate, like, how to cure cancer ideas, right? These huge ideas. And that's what I guess when you're in school, that's how you think. Like, you think Microsoft, you think, Apple, you think big companies, right?
Yeah,
But they all started small. That was like the thing that
right. Started
we
out of a
always
garage, started,
forget.
right? You have to start
Amazon
somewhere.
started small, so you got to start somewhere. And I think that's what really surprised me out of everything that I've done is we've always started small and we've grown. And that is, I think, a fear of many women that want to get into building their own businesses, is like the fear that this little small thing is going to fail. No, you keep going and you just keep refining it, and it's going to grow. It's going to get better. Um, and I think that's what surprised me the most, is that you don't have to think big. You do think big, but you start small and then you think big, you know? You work backwards,
Yeah.
and
And the key is you have to start somewhere,
you have to start
you know.
somewhere.
And it's, I'll always say to people, sometimes your best thing is go get your first, second, or third client. They're like, well, I have to build this first and I have to build that first. It's like, you know what? Go get 3 clients and you'll start gaining an income, and then you'll build it. Like, you took the business that was already flourishing and then you branded it, and that, right, it was already doing well. And then you were able to put the other components on LL process to then build
Right.
it,
Right.
and expand it and start and scale it accordingly. And you're continuing to scale it. So
Mhm.
do you only work in Dade County, Florida, or how have you
We're
expanded?
nationwide,
You
so
are
we can have
you are a
clients
nationwide
all.
company now.
We are a nationwide company. Yeah.
How do you business develop for a nationwide company? What have you seen working for you?
So, I'm still a big believer in relationships, and building those relationships. And so leveraging the relationships you have now, they have given me, I've gotten referrals, for nationwide clients. Um, and really just kind of diving into that market, in a strategic way. So in Miami, what I've done is the local bar associations, and being in leadership positions also has
I
really.
think that that's a key thing. You
Mhm.
don't just show up, you get involved. You
Getting
put
involved.
yourself in
Yeah.
that leadership.
So
You
I am
get yourself to that leadership position.
Right. I'm on a couple boards. The Doral Bar Association. I serve on a committee at the Miami Dade Bar Association, the Law and Tech Committee. Um, BNI, I'm all over that. And I'm part of other organizations as well. For process servers nationally and in Florida as well. So there's just so many ways to leverage your relationships. And start with organizations. Start with the local organizations. That's my advice. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Shirley,
Hmm.
what would be one tip you would share with our audience on if you're thinking about starting a business or as you're scaling a business? What is one tip you would leave behind?
So a lot of people are scared of at the very, very beginning of hiring. You're not going to hire the right person, or you're spending way too money. Oh, I could probably do this myself. Um, if if you're dealing with the little things like bookkeeping and things like social media posts and little things that you can possibly outsource, you know, that's an investment. That is not an expense. Yes, it's an expense, but it's an investment in your time. You have to look at it that way. So if you're outsourcing 5 to 10 hours a month of bookkeeping to another 5 to 10 hours of social media every single month, that's accumulation of your hours that you could be doing, generating, doing the activities that generate the income, right? That generate the revenue. And so the things that you can outsource now, do it. Invest in that and focus on the activities that really will get you to that next level. That's my advice.
I cannot agree more. Sometimes we think we have to be everything in the kitchen, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have to do everything. Um, I have to learn everything. I have to do everything. I was being interviewed yesterday on a different podcast, and they asked me something afterward. The host and I were just talking, and they're like, "So how do you do this, this, and this?" They were asking about social media marketing. I was like, and platforms, and I was like, "I don't know." And he looks at me, he goes, "I said, it's not my job. I know this, this, and this happens, and I check it, and this." I said, "You want me to tell you how they do it?" No. I was like, "I know that's not my job." And he cracked up laughing. He goes, "Touche, Ivy." He goes, "It is not your job." Shirley, I cannot thank you enough for joining me here today on her success story.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
This was fun. And listeners, I always say at this point in the show, take a moment and take a breath. Think about joining Shirley and I for the conversation and all the pearls of wisdom she shared, and find one thing that is your aha, your takeaway that resonates for you, and to find one action you can take from that. And know this time was an investment in yourself and your career, your company. If this episode was helpful, please share it forward, hit subscribe, and share it with a friend. We'll see you next time. Thank you.